Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's review we are finally taking a look at the long-awaited Comicave Studios Transformers Age of Extinction premium collectible Bumblebee. Taking a look here at the packaging, you can see that we have a fantastic image of the actual figure himself. This Autobot insignia should light up, however the button on mine is unfortunately broken. Turning it over here to the back so that we can read some of the statistics and facts about the figure, you can see that we have a fantastic image here once again of Bumblebee fully armoured up with the battle mask, the shurikens and of course the blaster. We also do have some of the figure's special features stating that it is indeed made up of 75% die-cast materials. The figure does indeed include LED lights, is articulated at more than 60 points. It is of course playable to pose with other action figures. It's approximately 15 inches in terms of its height and of course it is highly detailed. This product here is indeed an officially licensed piece by Hasbro, and a little backstory about this particular figure is that I do believe this was teased roughly 6 or 5 years ago, so I certainly did believe up until recently that this figure had been cancelled, as up until this point we had only seen their Optimus Prime, which was released way back in 2015, around about the same time in which this figure was actually teased. So this figure certainly has taken a long time to actually get into my hand, and I really cannot wait to see whether or not it was worth the wait. Starting off here firstly by taking a look at the accessories, my personal favourite has to go to that of Bumblebee's fusion cannon. And now if the design of this does look very similar to that of the ROTF Megatron, that's because in the movie it basically was the exact same weapon, and I personally do believe that this particular Comicave figure has given us the best look at this design that we have gotten in many years. It certainly has given me a better appreciation of what was my least favourite live action Bumblebee movie design to date. You can see that in terms of paint applications as well as sculpt work, I think that it is pretty much 100% accurate to what we see in the movie. You can see that we've got some fantastic weathering effect going along the main blade. This piece here certainly is a major step up than compared to their Comicave Optimus Prime. I love the metallic blue highlights that we do have here, and one thing to note is that this entire claw section is indeed made out of a die-cast material, so even the fusion cannon itself does have a fair amount of weight to it. It of course does have an LED function, and to just show you that, you just want to toggle this switch here, which will of course make the barrel light up an amazing looking yellow. Believe me, when you have all of the LEDs on the Bumblebee figure turned on, it for sure is a sight to behold. Something also worth noting is that this can indeed articulate, so you can hinge this section forwards and backwards, as of course in the movie Bumblebee did not only use this as a blaster, but it was also used as a harpoon weapon. So I definitely do believe that this piece of articulation is there in order to give you that illusion. And just turning it here to the other side, you can see that the actual detailing is different compared to this side, and then this side you can see that we do have some more silver detailing and sculpt work here, whereas on this side we do not. So certainly a really awesome blaster, and it's actually one of my favourite blasters that we have seen on a Bumblebee character to date. In terms of other accessories, we do get these missile pods. Now for those of you who don't recall seeing these in the movie, we do see these when Optimus Prime and Bumblebee are indeed fighting Galvatron on the highway. I do believe that he does shoot these just before Galvatron does transform, and you can see that the sculpt work as well as the paint applications on these particular pieces, in my opinion, have come out really nicely. The sculpt work is definitely incredibly crisp and precise, and I love the precision there to the actual black paint applications in order to highlight some of the sharper details of the sculpt. We of course do get two separate head sculpts, so just to show you these, we get the more standard version of Bumblebee. You can see that this has got no faceplate whatsoever, and once again I do believe that the sculpt work as well as the paint applications have come out impeccably well. The Autobot insignia has been sculpted really nicely, and I do also love how they've actually sculpted in some detailing to the eyes. When I do show you the LED function, believe me, once again that is certainly a sight to behold. Just giving you a side profile, I really do believe that the sculpt work has come out incredibly crisp and precise, and you can see some fantastic looking weathered effect there going on throughout the helmet. As we take a look here at the back, we also do have these sections which are indeed articulated and are once again accurate to the movie. Just to very quickly demonstrate the LED function, you are going to want to remove this section here at the back, which will indeed reveal a switch. Now this switch is very difficult to actually get to, so I do tend to use this piece here in order to toggle the switch up, and once that is activated, you can see there that the detailing of the eyes is seen a lot clearer, and in my opinion this looks fantastic and really does bring some life to this particular character. Of course, you just simply want to toggle this section off, and then this compartment will come right back over the top, and that is Bumblebee's more neutral looking face sculpt. The second head sculpt that we do get is of course that of a battle mask look, and one thing to note is that similarly to the blaster, this actually gave me a little bit more of an insight on the design than I initially had. This to me really does look like one of those masks that people use when they are fencing. I think that definitely where this back region is concerned, and the overall design of this is very reminiscent to that. You can see that once again the sculpt work as well as the paint applications, in my opinion, have been applied exceptionally well, and the Autobot insignia actually looks better on this particular version than on the other head sculpt, in my opinion. In terms of actually activating the LEDs, you want to come to this compartment, and this entire piece here will just wriggle off. You can see the batteries there, and then you just want to toggle this switch here on the back, and very similarly to the other head sculpt, the eyes will light up a super awesome, very vibrant electric blue, and I just think that that looks so awesome. So certainly, as far as head sculpts are concerned, I think that they are pretty much flawless. It can be rather difficult, however, to actually toggle the switches due to the size of them, but you then just want to take this section and of course peg that there onto the back. Turning to the largest of accessories, here we have this entire contraption. Now this does hold the shurikens of the actual rims of Bumblebee. This was a design that we did see in the movie. I wasn't necessarily too much of a fan of it, and as these were not used as weapons in the movie, to me I think that it was rather pointless, but you can see that in terms of an actual sculpt and detailing, I think that this has come out really nicely. Of course, this does magnetize onto the back of Bumblebee, which I'll showcase in a little while, but you can see we've got some nice Autobot insignias, and I do believe that the paint applications as well as the sculpt work on this entire piece have also come out really nicely. All of these here are on their own individual ball joints as well as hinge joints, and these sections here can also hinge forwards and backwards. So overall, in terms of accessories, I do believe that he comes with pretty much everything I would want from an AOE Bumblebee, and all of them, in my opinion, are absolutely flawless. And so now, turning to the main event himself, here we have the Comicave Bumblebee. Now, of course, I will showcase later on in the review how you can attach all of the additional components. However, first of all, I wanted to give you a quick rundown of the detailings in the robot mode. So to begin with, you can see that the head sculpt is incredibly proportionate when compared next to the rest of the sculpt. I absolutely love all of the piston detailing that we do indeed get here. You can see an amazing metallic blue finish here, as well as some fantastic gold highlights. In my opinion, this is for sure a superior release than compared to that of their Comicave Optimus Prime. As we take a look here towards the back of the figure, you can see the magnet that the entire back assembly will indeed attach onto. However, here you can see some really nice mechanical detailings. As we take a look here at the back, we also do have a pair of wheels, which in my opinion, I always thought the wheels were the shurikens. However, the designs in the Michael Bay movies were always incredibly inconsistent, but you can see that once again, the sculpt work as well as the detailing on these pieces, in my opinion, have come out really nicely, and both of these do indeed have the capability of spinning. You can see that we've got some fantastic carbon fiber here for the shoulder pads, and if I just turn him around here once again to the front, I am a massive fan of the torso detailing. Honestly, I think that this looks absolutely incredible. The chest design is so stylistic on this particular version of Bumblebee. Whilst it for sure wasn't my favourite design, it was certainly one of the more interesting designs to come out of Age of Extinction. As we take a look here at the bicep, you can see some fantastic mechanical detailings as well as some wiring. As we turn our attention here down to the forearms, I love the overall sculpt work to these as well as the paint applications. You can once again see the weathering effect that we do have scattered all the way throughout the figure, and just giving you one last look there at that torso detailing, I just think that that looks absolutely exceptional. As we turn around here to the back, you can once again see that that mechanical detailing does indeed continue, and you can see here on the back all of the panels have indeed been painted exceptionally well, and in all I just think that the sculpt work as well as the paint work on this piece has come out really nicely. You can see some fantastic detailings here, such as these decals, which perhaps you wouldn't have even noticed in the movie, so that is a really nice attention to detail there. And if I just close that section up and take a look at it here from a front perspective, as the Age of Extinction designs did take heavy inspiration from that of Knight's, you can see how he does have this almost knight armor here in terms of a crotch plate. As we turn our attention here to the thighs, you can see really nice looking sculpt work, and as we turn our attention here to the shins, once again the sculpt as well as the overall proportions have come out exceptionally well, and we also do have that amazing carbon fiber even on the actual foot section, and you can see there the wheels as well as the brake discs. I just think that in terms of attention to detail, this figure is pretty much flawless. Turning our attention here to the articulation of this figure, this is where some of my problems do indeed lie with this release, and that is because I really do believe that the clearance on some of the joints is minimal, and I definitely do not believe that the articulation is anywhere near as sophisticated as demonstrated by the likes of 3A and 3.0. So to begin with, in terms of the head, these pieces here are on ball joints, so they can move up and down. You saw earlier on that this neck assembly here is also on a ball joint, so you can move these pieces around if you so desire. But in terms of the actual head, this can lift up that far as well as down that far. It can also tilt side to side and of course look left to right. As we turn our attention here to the shoulders, these pieces here can hinge down. However, really the peg is very small, meaning that no matter if you do hinge them down, they more or less stay in roughly the same spot. And I do not like the fact that these pieces are not made out of a soft PVC material, as it definitely does cause some friction, especially when posing this figure. But in terms of the articulation here, this section is indeed on a ball joint, and we also do have a hinge joint here. So just to demonstrate that, this here is the hinge joint, and then to show you the ball joint, that is what lifts up and down, and you can see how the entire armpit section too will also move with it. As we turn our attention here to this section, the ball joint can also act as a butterfly joint forwards and backwards. We do get a rotation here at the upper bicep, and once again you can see here that it is slightly restricted due to this shoulder pad, which is indeed made out of a die-cast material. In terms of the range of motion where the elbow is concerned, unfortunately we only do get a 90-degree bend, so no double joints like we have seen on 3-0. And as we turn our attention here down to this lower section, this can also hinge forwards and backwards. However, due to the nature of the design, it is once again rather limited, which in my opinion is actually quite pointless. But the hands themselves are on ball joints, so these can move forwards and backwards. One thing to note is that upon opening this figure out of the packaging, the actual finger here was snapped clean off, so that is something to be cautious of. Unfortunately, as this figure is pretty much impossible to find anywhere other than the aftermarket, you really aren't going to be able to see it in person. But the thumb is on a ball joint, so this here can hinge back and forth. There is also a hinge joint here at the tip of the thumb, and the same can also be said here for the rest of the fingers. Turning here to the torso articulation, this is for sure where some of my major gripes do lie. We pretty much get zero articulation out of that, so you can see that the ab crunch is pretty much minimal. We don't even really get one. It can't even rotate left to right either without springing back into place, so I am really unsure as to whether or not this is supposed to be lifted up and extended. The instructions are incredibly vague, and due to Comicave's history with their Optimus Prime, I certainly am not going to be applying any pressure to that. But in terms of this entire lower region, these pieces here can indeed lift out to the sides. This section is on a ball joint as well as a hinge joint, so this can hinge down as well as rotate left to right in order to accommodate for some poses. The legs can kick forwards all the way that far, which in my opinion is a fantastic range of motion, and I really do wish that I could say the same for the torso. They can also kick back to a fantastic degree as well, and seeing as this here is on a ball joint, you can once again move that out of the way in order to get a greater range of motion. They can also do the splits, not to a great degree, however in my opinion I think that is more than adequate. We do get a rotation here just below where the knee is, and unfortunately we barely get a 90-degree bend here at the knee. You can see that it certainly doesn't bend all the way to 90, and this is for sure where I do believe that drop down joints would have greatly benefited this figure. As we turn our attention here to the lower section, the foot here can rotate left to right as well as pivot forwards and backwards, and you can also take this section in order to rock this side to side. So overall, in terms of articulation, it's certainly not the worst that I have seen on a figure. However, where the torso is concerned, I certainly do not believe this to be the best, and you can see there that the index finger did just come completely off, so the glue certainly didn't hold that in there, which in my opinion is so unfortunate, and I definitely do believe that the QC on these figures need to be tightened up. Turning now to some of the accessory implementation. To begin with, of course, we'll start off with this entire back attachment. This entire region here is indeed on a magnet, so it simply does just latch onto the back, so you can see that it will hold there, and you're just going to want to ensure that you do orientate it the proper way. I do believe that it is supposed to go in this way. You can see that it does snap in there really nice and securely, and just to give you a look of how Bumblebee looks from the front, you can see there that that certainly is the look from the movie. And as we take a look here one last time at the back, I really do think that this creates for an awesome visual. And seeing as all of these here are on hinge joints, of course, it can all be manipulated around to your so desire. And this is honestly a design which we haven't really seen all that much of. And so to see this in as much detail as I am seeing here, once again, certainly does give me a better appreciation of the design. In terms of swapping the heads out, as they are on ball joints, you simply do just want to pop it off like so, bring in our alternate head sculpt, and then just snap that in there, and you can see that does peg in there really nice and securely. Turning our attention here to the missile pods, in order to peg those in, you're going to want to hinge the elbow joint so that we can take this section, and this simply does just peg off. We can then take these, and you can see that they are on clips that you're going to want to align up appropriately with this section, and just shoot them in there until they snap into place. Of course, turn your attention to this side and repeat the exact same process. So just take this off, come here to this section, and once again snap that in there nice and securely. And I really do believe that that gives a fantastic look for the figure with the battle mask, the shurikens, as well as the missile pods. This looks absolutely incredible and is really movie accurate. But turning to the final and the best accessory, here we have the fusion cannon. So you can see that that does have a huge clip here that's actually going to snap into a port on the side of the arm. So just rising the arm up so that you can get a better look of this, you're going to want to take this panel and simply just remove it like so, and you can see that we do have a groove in there that this here will go into. I recommend applying a reasonable amount of force, as it is actually going to clip in there. You will feel it click, and with it snapped in, there we have Bumblebee with all of his accessories, and in my opinion he looks absolutely fantastic. Certainly this figure is a major step up than compared to their Comicave Optimus Prime, especially where the detailing is concerned. However, the features do not end there. You saw earlier on that not only do we get an LED in the fusion cannon and the head, but we also do get some LEDs where the torso is concerned. So you're going to want to take this front plate here and just wriggle it off. Once again, it is held on via some magnets. You can see that we do have a switch here, so you're just going to want to toggle that, and the front headlights will indeed light up in this really awesome electric blue, and then of course it will just magnetize back on. And turning the exposure down very slightly on my camera and turning on all of the LEDs, as stated earlier on in the review, this for sure is definitely a sight to behold. I think that this figure looks absolutely fantastic. And here for a very quick size comparison, here we have the Comicave Bumblebee compared next to some movie masterpiece figures, and as showcased on the back of the packaging, this figure is for sure roughly 15 inches, as he absolutely dwarfs the likes of MP Optimus Prime. And so, some final thoughts. As a whole, I certainly do believe this figure to be a major step up over their original Comicave Optimus Prime. That figure, in my opinion, was nowhere near as accurate nor as detailed as this particular release, seeing as this has come out roughly 6 years after the Age of Extinction movie. They certainly have had time to refine the sculpt, add additional components, adjust the paint applications, add accessories, and I really do believe that it has paid off. The figure looks absolutely incredible and is no doubt the best representation that we have gotten for the Age of Extinction Bumblebee. However, in terms of my criticisms with this figure, I think that the articulation, especially where the torso is concerned, is absolute dire. It truly isn't all that great whatsoever. You are barely able to get the figure to actually rotate left to right, and now there could potentially be a joint where you can extend it. However, the instructions do not mention that whatsoever, and due to previous history of their Optimus Prime figure being incredibly easy to break, I personally am not going to apply any pressure to actually manipulate that. I also am not happy that fresh out of the packaging, the finger had already snapped off and was rattling around in the packaging. For a premium product, the QC for sure should definitely be a little tighter on this release, but the diecast certainly does give it a very premium feel, as so do the paint applications. The figure is incredibly weighty. He can for sure withstand the weight of the back assembly as well as the entire top region. Most of the diecast is situated in the lower leg region, so in terms of actually displaying him, I have no issues whatsoever. I really do hope that you enjoyed my review. If you did, please do let me know down in the comment section below, and also be sure to let me know on whether or not Comicave Bumblebee is a figure that you will be looking to add to your collections. I thank you all for watching this review, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.